Hi, and thank you for joining us today. I'm with Canopy. We're a co-working space based in San Francisco, and with everything going on in this world, I've had to move all my events to digital. So here we are, and today we're going to be talking about managing anxiety in this crazy world of COVID. And we have Cady and Elaine Oyang here to talk about it. And we'll be opening this up to questions. Like this is people to participate. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what tips and what you have to say about it.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Elaine Oyang, and I am a certified yoga therapist based in San Francisco. And my specialty is doing one-on-one work with people who have persistent pain, anxiety, and pain-related symptoms that come from chronic illnesses. So with this event, in terms of our pandemic at this time, I have seen an increase in people with anxiety and also pain and rigidity in the body. And it is a time when we do feel this very stark connection, very vivid connection between mind and body. What we're going through emotionally and mentally is really much reflected in the physical body. And so I would love to share with you some practices from the yoga perspective in terms of how to ground and nourish the body and as well as the mind.
That's great. Yeah, I'm Cady, and I am here to talk about some meditation techniques that I have worked with on my journey in terms of my own practice and some of the practices that I lead for some others, either on a one-on-one basis or in group settings inside of companies at different events like this. I have been developing a framework called HEAL that is really geared towards looking at the subjective experience that we have adjacent to the objective experience that our culture has come to really understand. And in this time of quarantine and lockdown and pandemic, it's giving us an opportunity and a need to really, when it comes to things like anxiety, take a step back and regard them as subjective experiences that are very, very rich with information in terms of what is coming up to be healed. And today I'll be going through a little bit of ways in which we can approach that through meditation and some other systems and practices that are available.
Awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and share with you a little bit about what anxiety is and what stress is from the perspective of the yoga traditions. And Will brought up a good point of these emotions being a very subjective sensation, and we can put ourselves into more of an objective lens, and that actually helps us widen our perspective and kind of draw us away from the tangles and the web and drama of it all. Not to dismiss it, but looking at it from a different lens. And speaking of looking at it from a different lens, anxiety in the yoga tradition is a imbalance in the body and mind that has to do with the air and ether elements. So it's believed that our bodies are made out of 5 elements, and we all have different constitutions and different ratios of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And something like a sudden change in our life when the world suddenly becomes upside down, it's very disruptive. And from the lens of a yoga and Ayurveda perspective, is that it is a vata imbalance. Vata symbolizes the qualities of air and ether. And that can cause disruption in the mind, in our mind and body as well, because what's going on outside in the macrocosm is reflected within ourselves in the microcosm as well. So there's that reflection, and there's this sudden global weight coming in, and the whole world suddenly is in the same situation, and that's kind of compounded and augmented in the way that these elements have been disrupted, and we're feeling that in ourselves as stress and feeling anxious and overwhelmed and not being able to understand exactly what's going on outside in the world and what's going on inside. And just from a personal experience, the past few weeks for me have also been quite difficult, and I've struggled with kind of making sense of what's going on, and definitely have brought up things I thought I had worked on and went through therapy on, and suddenly it all came back. So if you're feeling the same sensations, just know that you're not alone as well. And today, I will like to also share some experiential practices from the body perspective in terms of reducing rigidity and tension that have built up in our bodies as a result of what's going on in our mental and emotional minds. So we don't need the yoga mat or anything. I'm going to share you how you can do this very simply, just by being behind your desk, at your chair, so that it's very accessible and very practical. Other things that, from the yoga perspective, that is very helpful for this time, this uncertain and kind of disrupted time, is to bring routine into your day. And especially since we're living in this time where it's really outside of our control. And this is the sense when we're not in control, that's what brings the anxiety, because we don't know, we can't expect what to happen. And as human minds, evolutionary, we like to kind of know what's going on as a safety mechanism. But you can control within the confines of your home in terms of what you do during the day, and placing these kind of anchoring moments, such as maybe sleeping and eating at the same time every day, maybe having 3 nourishing meals a day instead of snacking and grazing through the day. Have these anchoring moments like the meals and sleep, and maybe a daily walk to anchor your day in, so that you have some sort of foundation within yourself and within maybe your family or within your home that feels a little bit more in control. And that can be very grounding and nurturing for the mind as well. So, Will, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have quite a bit to share here. You know, what I can do is I can share a little bit of information that provides a frame for a brief meditation practice that I think would be pretty complementary to the yoga work that you're going to be sharing, Elaine. My question for you is, would you like me to talk through that and then share that brief meditation practice before or after you dive into the details on what people can do at their desks from a yoga standpoint?
Let's have you explain the framework first, so that, and then dive into meditation. So we kind of we have the more educational part, and then we'll shift together into the experiential part of our session.
Yeah, sounds great. So I'll walk through it, and then I'll kick it back to you. And maybe at the end, mine is very brief, and I think it would be very nice at the other side of a bit of an opening in a meditation to just sort of check in on this one element. And that element is connecting with the heart. Connecting with the heart to get out of the head, because anxiety, really the way that we struggle with it, is something that lives in the head more so than it lives in the heart. And a little bit of the background in terms of why that is. You know, so there are some remarkable discoveries that we've had about the heart in the last few years, the last couple of decades. And one of them is that there is a plexus of neurons that sits within the heart. There's about 40,000 ganglion neurons, which are the little neurons that interconnect with each other to form these networks. And they're the ones that we have in our brains that store memories, store thoughts, and store ideas. So it's a very intriguing thought that we would have that in the heart as well. And there's a question, why? Well, what we've discovered is that the heart does not need the brain to beat. I think previously we really thought of the heart as this pump that was really just moving blood through the body, but completely separated from the brain and separated from an electrical signal even. It's capable of maintaining a tempo and maintaining a beat all on its own. And as we're developing in the womb, it's actually the cardiovascular system, the heart, that emerges before the brain does. So there's a great mystery that's contained within the ideas that are held in the heart. And so the tempo of our heartbeats, the way in which it dialogues with the brain, is that there's really these two kind of wires that go down between the brain and the heart, and they are part of the autonomic nervous system. And you have the vagus nerve and you have the sympathetic nerves. So the vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system, and the sympathetic nerves is the sympathetic. So the parasympathetic, it's almost like a gas pedal. It's just kind of saying slow, and the sympathetic nerves are kind of like saying gas or faster. So sorry, the parasympathetic is the brake, and then the sympathetic is the gas pedal. But it kind of comes through in these little pulses where it's just sort of saying faster, slower, faster, slower. But about 90% of the information that is being carried through these nerves actually comes up to the brain, not from the brain to the body. So there's this enormous amount of signal that's coming up there. Why? Why might that be? Well, so the heart rhythm itself actually is what holds the information in these ideas in this plexus that is contained within the heart. And it's a little bit more complex than just the beats per minute. If you're at 70 beats per minute, 80 beats per minute, there's this concept that some people may have heard of called heart rate variability, HRV. And that is widely used as a measure of heart health, of cardio health, in the sense that the higher heart rate variability you have, the more ready for action your body is, because your heart is ready to jump from a low BPM to a high BPM, because it's just kind of oscillating between them. But when you look at the charts of a heart in a state of coherence, which is high heart rate variability, it's this beautiful, just kind of sweeping sine wave going from a low heartbeat to a high heartbeat. So that space in between beats is just regularly changing, but with this kind of intentional rhythm. And that's when we know that you are really connected to your parasympathetic nervous system through that vagus nerve. When you are stressed and when you are anxious, it doesn't look like that. It's very herky-jerky and tight, sort of like kind of like an angry line being drawn on a page. And so the heart rate variability is actually small because there's not a lot of movement. You're jumping between, let's say, 80 to 90 beats per minute versus, 60 to 100 beats per minute in between. But that's because you're holding on to this tension, right? And that is coming from a lot of just stress being brought down into the heart from other parts of the body, especially brain. In between those heartbeats is an enormous amount of data and information. It's not just the flow between the different tempos, but there's a pulse that comes out from the heart. And inside of that pulse are all of these different micro rhythms and micro energies that inform the rest of the body how to feel. And that includes the brain. And so when the heart sends these pulses up to the brain, in the space of a few different beats, it's getting a story, because stories are what are held in that plexus, in the memories and the ideas and those neurons in the heart. And the brain tries to make sense of them. I like to think of it as archetypes. Like when you feel like the hero, when you feel like the victim, when you feel like the inventor, these are very, very specific heart rhythms that are held in the memory of the heart. And it sends a pulse, and then the brain starts to make a story out of that pulse. It starts to attach ideas to it. It starts to attach memories and different visions or whatever it is that you use to communicate with yourself. And it tries to make sense of it with that. But there's something that originates in the heart. For me, the best example that I can think of to explain this in my experience is hangover anxiety. When I've had a big night out and drank quite a bit, I wake up the next morning and I feel anxious. I feel like I did something wrong. This is living in the heart. And what happens is we know that alcohol has an effect where it actually adds a layer of stress to the heart's ability to just beat. So that the actual pulses that are coming out. And that anxiety goes up to the brain. And then that's me lying in bed, scanning through my memories, trying to think of what was it that I did? What was that thing that I said? What was that thing that I did that just was rude or ignorant or just wasn't really me being my best self? And then I'll find it. Inevitably, I will find it and I will fixate on it all day until the feeling just goes away. But I learned how to get past that by connecting directly with the feeling that is in the heart and feeling the pulse that is moving through the body, breathing in a certain way, and unraveling it by just connecting with that before it gets to the brain. So rather than fighting fire with fire, thoughts with thoughts, you can actually fight fire with water by going to the feeling that is underneath the fire. And we'll do a meditation exercise that walks through exactly how to connect with that heartbeat. It's very special when you actually feel it, and I'm looking forward to sharing it. You're on mute, Elaine.
Is that something you would like to lead us into it right now?
Sure, yeah, let's do that. So the important thing in terms of, let's say hacking the system is that your breath is the regulator for your heartbeat. So the way that you breathe really has a direct effect on the tempo of your heart. So if you want to take over control, it's your breath that is the dashboard or the pilot seat that enables you to do that. So I would just ask everybody to get comfortable and with a straight back, as you would for meditation. And ordinarily, I would like to do this in the middle of a much longer kind of set. But what we're going to do is we're going to take more breaths to just settle into a certain space. And what I'd like everybody to do is do some symmetrical breathing. We're going to breathe in for 7 seconds, and then we're going to breathe out for 7 seconds. And we're going to do that 7 times. So I will help by counting, and breathe in through the nose and then out through the mouth. So breathe in, 1, 7, and out. In, out. And in, and out. 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 Just kind of sit with this relaxed state for a moment. Take breaths at whatever feel comfortable to you, but if you can, push it in any direction. Push it towards the slower rather than the faster. So what we're going to do now to connect with our heart is raise our hands. We're going to bring them towards our heart center, but not together in prayer, but we're going to put our fingertips together. So bring your fingertips together, and you can actually push them into each other a little bit. So now just take a few deep breaths until you can start to feel your pulse in your fingertips. And if you're struggling with that, I would suggest dropping your elbows down so that your hands can rest on either your stomach or your thighs, whatever's comfortable for you. What's most important is to connect with that pulse in your fingertips. And don't be afraid to press those fingers into each other either. When you feel that pulse, you might then also feel it echoing from your fingertips down your arms. And then if you connect with that echo down your arms, you might feel that echo going all the way back to the heart. And then if you found your way to the heart, you might then be able to connect with the feeling of how when the heart beats, that echo comes from the heart. And it creates a pulse that echoes through the entire body. First thumping in the chest, and then a wave spreading out down the arms up to the fingers. And then clapping back, returning from the fingers to the heart. Take a few deep breaths here. And feel how the deeper your breath, the more coherent that pulse and that echo become. There's a bit of a rhythm between the pulse that reaches out to the fingers and the echo that bounces back. And when you're in a good, relaxed state, it's all in harmony. Take one big inhale and an exhale. You can open your eyes if you have them closed. Bring your hands down to your knees. And that's the gateway. That's the gateway to the heart. There's so much more to be done there, but there's a language that you just connected with. And with your moments of anxiety, to go through that exercise to connect with the heart, the easiest thing you can do to get out of that anxiety is connect with that language and see if you can slow it down. See if you can get those echoes and those pulses to work in a harmonious rhythm together. And that'll help you unwind the feeling that is at the source of your anxiety without having to try to think your way out of it, because you're never going to think your way out of anxiety.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Love that. You can never think your way out of anxiety. Very true. The more you think, the deeper that hole becomes. So that's actually a great segue to the couple of practices that I would like to share with everyone today. And for me, a lot of my work is trying to bring the energy from up here where anxiety lives. Well, not just up here, our mind and connections all through the body, but it does feel like if you are anxious about something, you do feel that tension, tightness, and just kind of pressure all around your head. And I have seen a lot of people with more neck and shoulder pain and even headaches in the past couple of weeks as a result of all of the thinking and the busyness that goes in there. So my brief practice that I want to share with you today is bringing that energy down from this level, that vibrating at this really high frequency, down more into the center and root of the body. So inviting a little bit more of that earth element into our being. And I would like everyone to continue sitting where you are, sitting tall, but so you can feel your feet on the floor. And I'm going to scoot back a little bit so that you can see my whole body when I demonstrate the next couple of things. I'd like you to find your feet and not pushing down, but just feel the contact of the bottoms of your feet into the floor. And you can rest your hands on your laps, palms facing down. And keeping your spine tall, if you like, you can close your eyes and just feel the contact of the feet with the earth. Focus your attention and awareness to the bottoms of your feet. And as you pivot your attention from what's going on inside of your mind and busyness in the head, down into the body and through the roots, through the feet, you're drawing that energy downwards, down into the core and into the bottom depths of your body. And keeping connection with your awareness into the feet. Imagine that from the bottoms of your feet, there's roots that start to implant into the earth. And bring your awareness as well into your pelvis and hips, where you're seated on. Imagine also that from your pelvis, bottom of your pelvis, that there's a few roots that start to reach down and anchor into the earth. So we are finding these anchoring points. And keeping your feet and your pelvis anchored as so. You can now open your eyes if you have them closed, and we're going to do a few movements to continue bring that energy down. And particularly, I'm going to invite this energy down through your spine, which is where our central nervous system, our spinal column runs through. And that is by grounding into the spine, by bringing ease into the spine, we can also help to regulate our autonomic nervous system, the brake and the gas pedal that Will was talking about, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic side. So bring your hands into soft fist by your side with your elbows just kind of hanging loose with your shoulders relaxed. If you were leaning to the back of your chair just now, just kind of scoot forward so you have a little space. You're not just leaning into the back. Still keep your feet planted and your sit bones rooted down. When you inhale, you bring your elbows back and let your chest lift up. And you can gaze slightly upwards, but don't just throw your head back. Okay? Lengthen consciously and mindfully through the front of the body. And then when you exhale, bring your elbows forward, tuck your chin down, and you're going to round through your spine. And then inhale, bring your elbows back, let your chest lift. And then exhale, bring your elbows forward, tuck your chin, elbows in front of your head. And continue doing that a few more times. So essentially, we're just moving through the spine and keeping your attention there as well. Keeping the attention of where along your spine do you feel more fluid and at ease. Maybe it's more mobile. And where along the spine do you feel some more rigidity? And since there is a certain heaviness of anxiety as well as grief, perhaps, during this time, you may feel the rigidity right behind your heart. And if you do, as you move through, just focus your attention there. You can just draw your shoulder blades back a little bit more to massage into that space when you pull your elbows back. And when you pull your elbows forward, you can let your shoulder blades spread across to further massage into that space, into the heart space. Let's do one more. Inhaling, pulling back, and exhaling, pulling forward. And then sit up tall again, resting your hands onto your laps. You're going to now bring your right hand to the bottom edge of your chair. So if there's a ledge or something that you can hold on to, do so with your fingers. The idea is to keep your right shoulder plugged down so that it doesn't clench upwards. your left hand is, keep them stayed on your lap, relaxed, okay? You're gonna micro tuck your chin, not downwards, but more like backing your head up in space to align your head over your heart center. And then tilt your head over towards your left shoulder. And just use the weight of your head as you tilt your head over. Now you're keeping this right arm anchored down, holding it to the bottom ledge of the chair here. And breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth with ease. You don't need to rush your breath. And then keeping your head still tilted over this way towards the left side. You're bringing little rotations through the neck. So you're rotating on the axis of your neck, but keeping your head still tilted over to the left side. So you're actually massaging into various areas on the right side of your shoulders. You may feel this in your shoulder blades even. And then once you finish your last round, bring your head slowly back up to center. Okay, and then relax your right hand back onto your thigh. And just notice how that feels on the right shoulder, the side that we just lengthened. Hopefully there's a little bit more space. Then when I do the other side, bring your hand to the bottom ledge of your chair, whatever you're seated on. If it doesn't have a ledge, just kind of plug your shoulder down, okay? And again, tucking your chin so that it floats back in space. And then let your head tilt over towards your right shoulder with a little weight. And you're just letting gravity do its thing. You don't need to force your way down or push your way through. You're putting your body into this position and allow the rest to happen naturally. Then keeping the head still tilted over to the right side, you're going to just kind of micro rotate your head up and down, but still rotating on the axis of your neck while your neck and head still is tilted over to the right side. Just micro movement. And if you can see me, it almost seems like I'm barely moving my head. Just do one more time each. And then bring your head upright. Okay, and then rest your left hand onto your thigh. Okay. Do one more movement piece that engages and unwind any tension through your entire spine. On your exhale, I'm going to turn over to your left side. So your right hand, you can go ahead and cross that over to hold on to the outside of your left knee. And your left hand, depending on where you're sitting on, you can hold on to the back side of the chair, or maybe just hold on to the bottom side of your chair. And use your arms to turn the body. Keep your lower back relaxed. So even if you feel like you're slumping down a little bit, keep your lower back relaxed, keep your hips relaxed, and use your arms to pivot your entire spine in a gentle but firm way, not pulling too much that you're going to yank your spine out, but in a gentle and firm way. And draw your shoulder blades in towards each other, letting your chest and your heart lift up. Keep your neck soft. One more breath on this side. And then return back to the middle, and we'll go the other direction. So turning over to the right side, your left hand is going over onto the right leg, outside your right leg, and your left hand, your right hand behind you. Grabbing either back of the chair or the seat of the chair, whatever you can hold on behind. And then use your arms to direct your body to turn. Keep your waist, belly, and low back soft. And use your arms to direct the turning in a gentle but firm way. And draw your shoulder blades in. Use some upper back muscle. Draw your shoulder blades in towards each other and down. Allow your heart to lift. Keep your neck soft. One more breath here. And then bring your body back to center. Rest your hands down onto your laps again, palms facing down. This provides some more grounding, and that contact your hands to your thigh will also help draw the energy down into your legs and feet. If you like, again, close your eyes or just soften your gaze downwards and return to the imagery of roots extending from the bottoms of your feet into the earth, and of roots extending from the bottom of your pelvis into the earth. Breathing with ease, and with every exhale, visualize and imagine the roots reaching and anchoring even deeper into the earth. This is your safe space. You are held and supported by Earth itself. And know that you can always come back to the safe space that is accessible and available to you whenever and wherever. And when you're ready, if you had your eyes closed, you can open them slowly. So I hope that was helpful in just getting some rigidity and tension as a result of the anxious thoughts and overwhelm that manifest in your body. So let's see if anyone has questions from our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Elaine. Will. So if anyone has any questions, go ahead and, how are you guys doing throughout this whole thing? And the meditation, that felt really, really good, going through that with you, with the meditation and the little yoga practice that we did. Does anyone have anything to say? I guess not. Well, thank you again for being here. And we're doing this. We discuss doing it every Thursday. We have another event on Thursday, which is called. Hold on, let me bring that up for you. So yeah, next Thursday we will be doing energy practices for the mind and body healing. So every Thursday will be that. But yeah, thank you again, and we hope to see you all here again soon. And I've also recorded this, so I will email everybody on the Eventbrite list, everyone that attended today, I'll email you the video link. So if anytime you need to go back and have another meditation or some more breath work, it's accessible for you.
May I share a little bit about where people can find me if they want some more resources?
Yes, of course. You can go ahead in the chat box. You can put your information down.
Okay, great. So I'll put links to. I have a Facebook community, Yoga for Pain and Fatigue, where I share. In the past few weeks, at least, I've been sharing a lot more practices around anxiety and getting enough sleep and yoga practices to help with both. So I'll drop the link in the chat below.
And then also when I email everybody the link to the video, I will add Elaine's information there too.
And I'll do the same in the chat. I'll share a Reddit community that I've created called Heal Movement that explores the details in terms of how we can parse the subjective experience and go into the subjective laboratory that lives in the heart. I'll share a link in the chat now.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll just leave this open so everybody can get the information from Elaine and Will.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Will.